Welcome to MRE Uncut, where we'll give you real and practical insights into the real estate scene in Melbourne. We'll discuss what's happening in the industry, all backed by MRE's history of over 30 years in the game. With that said, let's jump into this week's episode of MRE Uncut.
Welcome back to another MRE podcast. My name's Steve Fitzsimon, and today I'm joined by Peter Hooymans.
Hello, Steve. Hello, everyone.
And I've got Anthony Deluca here from By Deluca.
Hi, Stephen. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for asking. So, Anthony, you're a developer.
Yes, property developer.
Okay.
Specialising in boutique apartment blocks around the inner city Melbourne.
There you go. And we've seen your work over the past 10 years.
Correct.
We manage a lot of the stock that's within them, the investor apartments within them. We've also looked at this podcast at the housing crisis that we're facing, and blame goes everywhere. Where are you sort of seeing things sit at the moment in terms of the developers' part in the housing situation in Melbourne?
Look, I think it's very difficult. I think the economy is not great at this particular time. We've got cost problem, which has been well documented now for a number of years, a couple of years, but it's not getting easier. Planning permits are difficult. Land prices are still high, and sentiment in the market is not fantastic. It's not great.
Now, you mean sentiment for sales of the end product?
For sales, yes.
Yeah. Okay. And what do you put that down to, do you reckon, at the moment?
I think cost of living, inflation, cost of money, hard to get finance for the end user, job uncertainty.
I mean, now realistically, if you want to finance something, they're doing the application at 9% serviceability. Actually, I think it's 9.3.
So it's changed immensely.
Which is huge compared to, let's just say, a couple of years ago.
And wages haven't gone up that much. It's gone up a little bit, but it hasn't gone up to that extent.
Yeah, okay.
So from the viewpoint of, okay, I'm going to buy a piece of land and build apartments on it, or sell them and then build the apartments on it, fundamentally, if you buy that same piece of land, the cost to build the apartments exceeds the saleable value of them.
Yes, exactly. I mean, that's what's happening at the minute. I think we really need now to start to increase prices for the end user to between 12 and 14 at the minimum level.
So you're talking $12,000 to $14,000 per square metre of an apartment.
Correct.
So if we look at that from like the basic type of view, if you've got an 80 square metre, 2-bed, 2-bath apartment, which is sort of a large but nice sort of livable apartment.
It's got to be $1 million plus.
Yeah, $1 million plus.
$1 million plus.
Yeah. That's a hint into the market.
But you can buy that product now for less than that.
Used,
exactly. And that's the issue we've got.
So how does
hang on, let's go back 10 years. You would save stamp duty.
Yeah, and we're not getting that either.
An 800 or not, let's call it a mil, right? These are round numbers, 6%, that's 60,000.
Yeah.
You would save. So that was kind of like a pretty strong incentive. I mean, I remember selling off the plan 20 years ago, and that was one of my main pitches was no stamps.
But they used to have that you'd buy off the plan, you get an $18,000 or $20,000 rebate incentive.
Rebate and so forth.
So no stamp savings whatsoever. I'm interested, just have you got any sort of examples without giving away any kind of company intel, on like recent projects, like on the escalation of building prices? That sort of fascinates me a bit because I mean I know what it costs to get a Sparky around now to change a downlight. It's crazy.
Yeah. So we did development in Hawthorn, actually high-end development, 5 luxury townhouses. Build price was roughly a bit less than $5 million. If you did that today, it'd be 6.5 to 7 mil.
Yeah, wow. 30 to 40%.
So when did you build it originally? So
we finished it about a year ago.
Oh, okay. So so we're talking time frames only the last 3 years.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So prices went up immensely during that time. Lucky we had a building contract which was stated at 5 mil. So the poor builder had to actually stick to that price, which was difficult for him.
Yep.
Obviously, we tried to help him out a little bit, but
not your fault, not his fault.
It's just the way it is in the state of the market.
Yeah,
so that was difficult. Now, if that was to be built now, it'd be 6.5 to 7 mil. Are we getting more? No, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
The end
and what
user,
did they sell for those?
between 2.5 to 2.9.
Yeah, and 2.5, 2.9. And if they're on the market today, you're going to say that
it would be similar. It might be a touch more because it's a really good product.
Maybe 3.
It might be 2.9 or 3. So
even if it was 3.5, that project doesn't stack.
It doesn't stack up.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And so therefore it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So
because you can't fund it.
We can't fund it.
The builders.
Yeah, the builder can't build it for the price we
it
need to
goes
be
all the way
able,
down the chain.
and the end user is not going to pay
The end user
3.5.
the end user won't get a valuation if they did, even if they did pay 3.5.
That's the ripper that people forget about.
Yeah, still got to value up. If you're assuming you're funding it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Exactly.
that's a good one.
So
Any others?
that project there just wouldn't go ahead.
Yeah. Any others of more like anything bigger than that?
Bigger than that. So we've got one in Collingwood at the moment, which is we finally got a permit after 3 years of battling with council.
3 years of battling with council.
So, planning just took 2 years, 2.5 years
So you
to
bought
get
the
through.
site.
We bought the site.
And then how much would you spend to try and battle council? Just, I don't know, ballpark. What's it cost you? Time and architects
it's up to
millions.
Millions really. By the time you go through architects, best architects.
That's all paying.
That's all paying.
Hard
we went
costs.
So
through.
you've spent all of that money on land that's effectively not being utilised well.
No, not at all. I mean, we've got a little tenant in there, which is getting nothing. I mean, land tax is more than what we're getting.
Yeah, right.
Per year.
Yeah, so you're digging yourself
one.
a hole to spend 2.5 years to try and get, or 3 years in total, to get a permit to then be able to sell it.
So how big was it? 200, you said?
No, it's about 70, 80 apartments.
Okay, sorry.
80, it was 2,000 square metres of land in
Yeah.
Collingwood. So it's a nice parcel of land, perfect to be developed. It, got rezoned a few years ago, which was fantastic. But then to go through the council process, we went through so much due diligence with planning. We actually came up with a compromised scheme with height. We go towards the councillors knock it on the head. They say no to it, and we've got to start again, even though their own planning department have endorsed it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a political thing.
Yeah, definitely is. I mean, then you got lobby groups, within Fitzroy and Collingwood that are anti-development, which doesn't help as well. And they've got, I think, increased influence at the minute as well. Heritage issues as well.
And then what about the build price?
The build price? Okay, we factored in a certain amount during that time. We go to get an estimation 30% more than we thought.
Which 70 apartments
plus I will interrupt, plus a deduction of height as well, because council.
Yep. So you've got less to sell.
Yeah.
And it's costing you, I'm going to guess, $10 million more to build.
It was about 9. So you're almost spot on there.
There you go. Yeah. So that's across 80 apartments. That's another $100,000 per apartment.
Correct.
Just to be in the same boat.
And then you got to have the courage to say, okay, that's fine. Let's try and get more for these apartments, like no one else has in the market. And that's when you start to go, gosh, it's difficult.
It's a risk. It's a big risk.
It's a massive risk, especially in this market with inflation and all that's going on.
Yeah.
Will people, be able to afford it? Can we do it? So that's the challenge that we've got. Do we have the courage to go, okay, these apartments have to be pitched at $100,000, more than they were like a couple of years ago.
And that's something that I've seen so much more now. You drive down the streets, you see the hoarding out the front of the development, and it's all new and in shiny lights. And then 6 months later, you're driving past that spot and it's not under construction. It's all graffitied.
Yeah.
It's died.
Yeah.
So they've taken that risk after going through the similar process that you're going through. They've taken that risk. They've gone, yes, let's go to market. They've spent what would you like advertising spend for sending a project
It
live?
depends on the size, but it's like, it's hundreds of thousands.
Hundreds, another hundreds of thousands after they've spent that to try and advertise it, to market it, and then it's hoarded up and it's graffitied on and it's back to being a site, and the plans probably are no good anymore.
Yep, you got to start again.
So no holds barred. If we give you the Victorian premiership,
Dangerous.
if we make you premier tomorrow, what would you change?
Oh,
Just a couple of broad brush items, other than the entire.
Do you want something harder?
Other than the entire cabinet, just broad brush, because
look, I think there needs to be better sentiment around development, that it's a positive aspect rather than a negative. And I think for the last probably 5 years or so, it's been quite a negative thing where height is coming down, not up, which makes it difficult.
Which is weird, because 10 years ago, or 12, 13, 14, 15, we're looking through buildings from, to grow a rent roll. And I'd say to Steve, how big is that? Oh, 72 stories. I was like, how big?
Yeah.
And I was like, my ears would pop going up the elevator.
Yeah. We seem to be scared of height for some reason. An extra 2 levels is not a bad thing. It can be a good thing. It makes it just makes the building look even better, I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
So, like I look at our street. We're in Yarra Street.
Yeah.
And the building that we're in is 13 stories high. And the ones now next door are 35.
Yeah, gosh.
And you sit there and you go, oh, hang on. They capped that developer out at 13.
In 2004.
In 2004. Now they've gone to 35 for the surroundings.
Yeah.
And now they're going back down.
Yeah.
When the government is telling us that they need to build, was it 80,000?
Yeah, 80,000.
What do you think of that statement?
Oh, yeah, it's needed. It's fine. But, where are we going to find the trades for that? Where are we going to be able to, to do this as well? We can't keep going out as well. We have to stay within, within the city at some point as well, or else you need more schools, more education, more, all these things which cost even more money. So we can't keep going out.
The infrastructure, it's got to be infrastructure central, and that makes perfect sense. But then it sort of goes against each other if a council doesn't want to build above a certain height, yet the government's telling us we need to build these properties, yet it takes them 3 years to give a permit for somebody to build what needs to be built.
Exactly.
What do you do with that site at the moment? Like,
look,
do you mothball it, or
no? I think there's different ways we can make it work, and we will. We always do. We'll find a way.
Yeah.
It could be that we just sit out another 6 months and just see what the market does.
Yes.
I do think there's going to be. Look, there is a housing crisis, so hopefully people understand that instead of a 2-bedder, can they buy a 1-bedder? And can they spend a little bit more on that 1-bedder with a study, for instance? That's just one idea that we've got. Is there a way that we can go back to maybe the smaller apartments? I think there's been a shift towards owner-occupier stuff, larger apartments.
Definitely.
But it costs money.
Yeah.
It costs an enormous amount of money. So is there a market now for 1-bedder, smaller 2s maybe, to make it work? And, okay, they've got to spend a little bit more, but it won't be as much as like a large 2-bedder. So I think those little ideas might come back into play. I think costs, I'm hoping they're going to come down. Is there a way that developers can skin a cat a little bit now? Can they become maybe the builder sometimes, in smaller projects? Like, is that a way that we can keep our margin there?
Do you mean by getting the builder to do it cheaper?
Well, no, also sort of become a builder yourself as well, right?
Gotcha.
Which is what we've done, in the short term as well. So for smaller projects, we've decided
because
to be
in
the
the
builder.
building cost, you can't blame all the builder entirely, because a lot of it's raw materials, right?
Correct.
Steel's gone up 50%, timber, a whole bunch of things. I've got a few mates that are builders, and they're all telling me.
And obviously, government jobs as well have chewed up all the labour. So so obviously, you've got to compete with them.
Yeah.
Concreters have to compete with them.
Yes.
As well. They have to charge out their time at $100 an hour.
Yeah.
It's just changed.
Yes.
If they don't do that, they won't get the labour.
So, the other scary bit, I reckon, looking at it, I think, we all agree, and all other developer mates I've got the same sentiment as yourself, but I can't see anything changing this year.
No.
We're in July already, nearly August in a minute. So nothing's going to change this year. Much is not going to change probably in the first half of next year. So,
And could it get worse?
Could it get worse? So you could be sort of talking about a couple of years of standstill.
Yeah, I agree.
And then we're late when I'm in 2027 and we've still got no more stock.
Yeah.
Let's go back to 2017. Stock we were talking to a developer every other week on a project that was settling. There was stuff settling everywhere, and that's just literally disappeared, dried up. And,
Certainly.
So I don't know how. I actually am not even sure how they can turn the tap on, even if they wanted to.
Yeah, I'm not certain either.
Yeah, if they said,
So I think it's going to be a long haul.
Long
I
haul.
think it's going to be a long haul.
Yeah.
There was a Greens politician who was talking about the government becoming a developer and talking about the government, buying sites and then building on them. Like
the Housing Commission.
Yeah.
Right.
Awesome. But I think like that, in a different, like in a slightly different architectural design. But
who pays for that?
Well, I think we do essentially.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're taxed to death. But the challenge is, like, I'm trying to look at how much it's going to cost. Like, so I'm sitting there and I'm going, okay. So if we took all the margins out, and other than the builders, because the builder's still going to get paid.
Yeah.
So you take the developer margin out, and you sit there and you go, okay. They want to build 70 square metre 2-bedroom apartments for people to live in. We're looking at, if they're buying the sites, let's say they own the sites already, but you're looking at anyhow about 10,000 a square metre to build it, or would it be a little bit less than that?
Should be a little bit less than that,
A little bit.
think.
But, so we're still looking at round figures. Between 500,000 and 600,000 per apartment to bring it to fruition, and so the investment, if they want to build, be a developer, is going to be astronomical.
It'd be enormous. It just wouldn't work.
And so they don't therefore have an opportunity to do that because they've got to find the funding from somewhere. Yeah. And if so, that's sort of like one of those. I'll ping off an idea into the wind and see if it gets a bit of media coverage. And then, so they need to stimulate the developer community. If you, like going back to sort of Pete's comment, if you could turn on 3 things that you think have been turned off, like streamlining planning, surely that is that like? But
they tried to. I think there's a levy on that. There was a payment to streamline it at one point, which I think we're still paying as a developer every time. Like we go for an application, it didn't work. So I don't know what else they can do to actually streamline it.
Do they take planning off local council?
When it goes to government, I don't know. Will that make it better?
I don't know, but I'm trying to think of like let's reinvest money. Let's pluck some ideas out of here, and we just change the way planning is done.
Yeah, look, if they left it to the experts within council, that's perfect.
Right. So it's the problem is that it's then going to the politicians.
Correct.
Okay.
So we do a heap of work with the planning, expert, council level. And it's fine, they got their viewpoint, which is valid. We got ours, and we meet in the middle normally.
Yeah,
and that's okay. As soon as it goes to the councillors, and there's non-experts there, whether it's a teacher, whether it's whatever it is.
Yeah, community representatives, but they're not planning experts.
No. And all that like expert opinions goes out the window completely, and then you're left with a planning application, you've got to start again, or it goes to VCAT.
So then you object, that they say no, and then you go to VCAT to try and get it through. Yeah. But that's more time.
That's heaps of time.
How much time?
Oh, sometimes it's an extra 12 months.
Wow.
It can be.
Yeah. And so you do the extra 12 months to try and get it through VCAT. And if you get it through VCAT, then great, but they might be snipping edges off your...
Yeah, which is what happened in Collingwood. They snipped a few things, and then you got to redesign again according with the the VCAT hearing.
Yeah. Thanks, Mr. Architect.
Yeah. Back to planning.
Yeah.
To get the amendment through, you got to sort of redo a few things normally, and then we're still in council now.
Wow.
So it's a long drawn out process.
So that doesn't sort of work. Like,
No.
where do we accelerate things? How do we accelerate things?
I'm a bit like you. I'm going. I can't see a way.
I haven't seen
At the moment,
they spoke about government, but I mean that's dangerous. I think as well when they've got more power.
Yeah.
What's going to happen there? With how are they going to look at it? Are they going to have their own agendas within thing? It should be left to the experts.
Yeah.
I think that's the only way that I see it working.
Bit of stabilisation in the building industry, few rate cuts.
Yep.
More of a buoyant economy.
Yeah, definitely.
A bit more confidence.
Yeah, exactly.
That's for me. And then
I think we need confidence in the market. which we don't have. That's only going to happen.
And then coming back to being able to sell off the plan, we can go. We have got one thing we have got is rental yields. Yields, skyrocketing.
Exactly.
So
that will help.
Maybe if the stars aligned in 12 months and we had all those things happen, and you can rent that 80 square metre for $1 million for $1,000 a week.
Yeah,
and we're not far off that.
Yeah,
then you're probably going. It works.
And rates come down, and then all
rates come down half to
start to work.
3/4.
So look, it may not take a lot, but a few things need to align, like you say.
What about labour? Like
I feel
because they haven't opened up the migration for that it's all been skilled
labour. Yeah, I do think that labour is becoming what's the word? It's becoming they're not as busy as they were before.
Okay.
So I think labour prices will come down. I think government jobs, I have a feeling, are gonna sort of dry up a little bit, and I think I believe labour will start coming down a little bit. I would hope. The prices we're getting for smaller development in Preston, it's not as silly as I thought it would be.
right.
So trades are starting to feel it a little bit. There's increased
Competition.
Yeah, correct. Increased competition. So I think it's starting to happen. There's less jobs out there. Simple as that.
Yeah.
I know it's all.
They don't stack up.
Yeah, exactly. They don't stack up.
Excellent. Well, that's a
Wow.
good summary.
Yeah. Thanks for coming in, Anthony.
No problem.
That was highly informative. So it's good to hear it from the other side occasionally.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Thanks, mate.
That's
Appreciate
right.
it. Good on you.
Thanks.